Till now we have only 18 participants. Okay. So in today's lecture, we will be discussing about polar curves, again revisiting of illumination and the loss of illuminations, and possible some numerical problems on the loss of illumination. Okay. So while regarding to understanding the polar curve, somebody wants to speak anything? So if you want to speak anything, you please raise your hand. There is a button called as raise your hand so that you can speak. If not, you please mute yourself so that there will not be any disturbance in the class. Right? Yeah, coming to today's lecture. So the objectives of today's class is the students will learn about polar curves, then illumination, definition of illumination. Again, revisiting the illumination. The definition of illumination includes the total amount of flux received per unit area. Then loss of illumination. There are two types of loss. One is inverse square law, other one is Lambert's cosine law. So we'll be discussing these two laws of illumination and some numerical problems on the loss of illumination. Okay. So coming to the polar curves, what is a polar curve? So before understanding what is a polar curve, yesterday we have discussed two important definitions like mean horizontal candle power and mean spherical candle power. So if you know these two things, that means the amount of light that is going to be in terms of horizontal plane and in terms of vertical plane. Okay, so if you understand these two things, then polar curves is nothing but the graphical representation of these two parameters in terms of graph. Okay, so they are the graphical. Polar curve is a curve that is used to, that is nothing but a graph drawn between the luminous intensity in terms of horizontal plane and luminous intensity in terms of the vertical plane. Okay, so as we know, the luminous intensity is not uniform in all directions. Okay, why? Because you can see if you take the lamp example in your home, so the light falling at the near place and light falling at the far end. Okay, the luminous intensity is not uniform. Okay, so because the shape of the lamp is in such a way that it cannot give uniform luminous intensity. So we should know how the light is distributed. Okay, so to know how the light is distributed, we use the graphical representation called as polar curve. Okay, so in the polar curve, what we will do is we will make a circular uh, shape which consists of 360 degrees. Okay, we'll be taking different angles. So we are going to see exactly we are going to see here. So you can see here this is going to be a circular shape where I have taken different values 0, 5 by 3, 5 by 6. Okay. So all these different angles, and when light is falling with respect to horizontal plane and with respect to vertical plane, how the I am going to connect all these dots, the luminous intensity at every angle. Okay, if you are going to connect the luminous intensity at every angle, then it is going to be nothing but the representation of the luminous intensity, how the variation is happening or where the variation is going to happen in terms of the luminous intensity. Okay, so what is the definition of polar curve? It is a graph that is represents the distribution of light or luminous intensity. In specific, it is luminous intensity in horizontal as well as in vertical planes. Okay, how the luminous intensity is distributed in horizontal plane as well as in the vertical plane. So that distribution is observed by using the polar curves. Okay, so we are going to draw the polar curve uh, by observing the luminous intensity at every angle. So these are the different angles we have taken. So at every point, what is the luminous intensity in each direction? Since as I told you that light is radiated all over the surface here, it cannot be in one direction, it will be radiated like this. So at every point we are going to take one angle, so we are going to touch up all the points and a graph is going to be drawn. So that graph shows what is the luminous intensity at every angle. Okay, now we are going to see the polar curve in case of horizontal plane. Okay, so this is your lamp and here is one table. You assume that this is a studying table or any reading table, something like this you assume here. So here I have taken A, B, C, D. These are the four sides of the table. We are assuming like this. I have taken only these 4 points so that illumination at a point, anything at here in this point plane A, illumination intensity at D, illumination intensity C, illumination intensity or luminous intensity at the B. So this luminous intensity at every point we are going to connect and we are going to observe it, how the luminous intensity will happen. Okay, in general you assume that luminous intensity will be almost same. Okay, so whether it is going to be 0 degree, 90 degree, 180 degree, 200 degree, whatever the value, all the illumination is almost same, but you are going to see a drop here in case of this O to C, this plane you are seeing a small variation, right? So this variation is due to the presence of the filament breakup. Okay, so because of this filament breakup that is available here, we are going to see a small change in the luminous intensity. Okay, so this graph is called as polar curve in horizontal plane. Okay, and see the polar curve in vertical plane. So this is going to be the polar graph in your vertical plane. So in case of vertical plane, you can see here there is a drop in the 180 degree way. Okay, here you have seen the smallest variation in 0 degrees case. Here you can see in the plane of 180 degree. So which means that here from the vertical view you will see this lamp holder. Okay, so because of the presence of this lamp holder, okay, there is a variation in the luminous intensity. Okay, so as this figure 4.A, it is showing the incandescent lamp and the luminous intensity is measured in the horizontal plane and the graph is plotted and a curve is plotted between luminous intensity and angular position. So that is shown in figure 4.B. Okay, the drop in luminous intensity along OC, okay, of horizontal polar curve is due to the break in the filament where the current enters and leaves. Okay, so because of the filament break that is available here, you are seeing a small variation in the value of luminous intensity. Okay, this is about vertical polar curve. So on the vertical polar curve, the luminous intensity is measured at various angles we have shown here. So here we are seeing a drop at 180-degree angle. Okay, so this represents drop here due to the position of the lamp holder that is available. Okay, so that is why here you are seeing a drop, and remaining all the things, the luminous intensity is like a forming a shape. Okay, so have you understood these two? So then comes the application of polar curves. So the polar curves are used for knowing the intensity of light in different directions. In whether you want to know the luminous intensity in 180-degree or 90-degree or 270-degree, whatever the direction in which you want to know the light intensity, you can find out from the polar curve. And from the polar curve, we can determine the mean horizontal candle power and mean horizontal spherical candle power. So two things we can determine. Then also we can calculate the number of lamps that is required, okay, to design an illumination scheme, okay, or a lighting scheme. So in a room, how many number of lamps are required if it is going to be a like suppose you take a uh, retail textile complex. Okay, in the textile complex, depending on the luminous intensity polar curves, we can calculate the number of lamps that are required for uh, making the room so attractive. Okay, so because when the lighting is attractive, then automatically people will enter the shop and they can try to purchase something from the shop. Okay, so that is why lighting scheme should be ambient and pleasing. So to determine those things, these polar curves will be helpful. Okay. And again, in the coming to the definition of illumination, as yesterday I told you, definition of illumination: the luminous flux received by a surface per unit area is called as illumination, and illumination is represented in lux or lumen per meter square. Okay, so as I told you, the example of lux soap in the earlier, where in the class, regular class itself, I told you lux. The caption of lux will be at the bottom. You will see radiating your skin. Okay, so since the unit of illumination is lux, so the soap manufacturers have used the same word lux for a soap, so that using that soap will radiate your skin. So that is the whole idea behind the name of the soap lux. Now anyway, uh, coming to our illumination, E is equal to luminous flux. Luminous flux is represented either with F or phi. So, okay, so flux per unit area. Okay, so F or phi by area. Okay, so we know F is equal to, we can represent with terms of candle power into solid angle divided by area. So these are the different formulas that are available for illumination. So you note down these formulas so that while solving the problem, it will be helpful for you. So F or phi by A, which is luminous flux, or luminous flux is going to be in terms of candle power and solid angle, omega here solid angle. So candle power into solid angle. So candle power or I, okay. So that is luminous intensity into solid angle per area. That is going to be. Then the loss of illumination. Anybody want to say anything? Okay. Then comes to the loss of illumination. So there are two losses for illumination. One is inverse square law, another one is Lambert's cosine law. So the illumination on a surface depends upon luminous intensity I and distance between the source and surface. Okay, and along with the direction of rays of light. Okay, so it is governed by inverse square law and Lambert's cosine law. There are two laws. One is inverse square law, another one is Lambert's cosine law. Okay, so the parameters that are required for determining these two losses are luminous intensity I and distance between the source and surface and the direction of the light rays. Inverse square law, it states that the illumination of a surface is inversely proportional to the square of the distance of the surface from the source. Okay, illumination of a surface is inversely proportional to the square of the distance of the surface from the source. So illumination E is proportional to 1 by d square. Since it is inversely proportional, so that is why 1 by d square. So this is the diagram. I hope you are able to see the diagram. So here you can see a source. Okay, source is represented with S, and we have three surface areas A1, A2, A3, and from the source A1 is spaced at distance of d, and A2 is placed at a distance of 2d, and A3 is placed at a distance of 3d. Okay, so these are the three sources, and from the source we are seeing uh, on each different surface how is the illumination happening. At S is the point source. A1, A2, A3 are three parallel surface areas, and D, 2D, 3D are the distances from A1, A2, and A3 to the point source. And omega is your solid angle, and I is your luminous intensity. Okay, these are all what are there in the diagram. I am giving you this all. S is your source, and omega is your solid angle. A1, A2, A3, these are the three parallel surfaces, and A1 is at a distance of d, A2 is at a distance of 2d, A3 at a distance of 3d from the source. Okay. So you know the solid angle omega is equal to A by d square. Yesterday we have given here. So for surface area A1, the solid angle is equal to A1 by d square. For surface area A2, it is A2 by 2d square, and surface area A3, it is A3 by 3d square. So flux on area, flux is equal to luminous intensity into solid angle. Okay. So in the illumination also we have seen luminous intensity I into solid angle omega. So I into omega. So we know omega is equal to A1 by d square. So that is nothing but I into A1 by d square is the flux on area A1. So illumination E is equal to flux by area. So I into A1 by d square into 1 by A1. Since area is here in the denominator, okay, so this IA 1 by d square is represented here, and this is in the denominator, so it is represented in the denominator itself. A1 will get cancelled, so this is I by d square is the illumination on surface A1. Okay. So again I am going to repeat here for you. In case of our area A1, the solid angle omega is equal to area by d square, A1 by d square, and flux is equal to luminous intensity into solid angle. Directly we can avoid this step and write here itself. Okay, if you write here itself, then luminous intensity into solid angle. So flux is equal to luminous intensity into solid angle. Luminous intensity is represented with I and solid angle is represented with omega. We know omega is equal to, for surface area A1 by d square. So I into omega A1 by d square, and we know illumination E is equal to luminous flux per unit area. So because since we are taking surface area A1, illumination on surface area A1 only we are considering, so that is why flux by area A1. So the flux value is obtained here, IA1 by d square. So IA1 by d square is represented here, and area. So area is, it is in the denominator, so it is made in the denominator itself. So both area will get cancelled, and you can find I by d square. So I by d square lux is the illumination of surface A1. Okay. Then similarly, you can easily understand that illumination on surface area A2 is I by 2d square lux. Okay. So here in case of for surface area A2, solid angle omega is equal to A2 by 2d square. Okay. So it is 2d square. So here IA2 divided by 2d square into 1 by A2. So A2 will get cancelled. I by 2d square will be available here. Similarly, in case of area A3, omega is equal to A3 by 3d square. So again here I into A3 by 3d square into 1 by A3. So 3I by 3d square is going to be the illumination on surface area A3. Okay. So we have got E1 is equal to I by 2d square lux. Illumination E2 is equal to I by 2d square lux, and illumination E3 is equal to I by 3d square lux. Okay, so if you try to find out the ratio of E1 is to E2 is to E3, so taking I as a common, okay, so 1 by d square is to 1 by 2d square is to 1 by 3d square. Okay, so this is nothing but inverse square law. Okay. Then comes the Lambert's cosine law. So in the Lambert's cosine law, we are going to represent in the terms of cosine of the angle. Okay. So illumination on a surface is proportional to the cosine angle between the direction of incident flux and perpendicular to the area. Okay. So illumination on any surface is proportional to the cosine angle on any surface. Illumination on any surface is proportional to the cosine angle between the direction of incident flux and perpendicular to the area. Okay. So this is the direction of flux and this is your area which is perpendicular. So illumination E is equal to I by d square into cos theta. So in case of inverse square law, it is I by d square. So in terms of Lambert's cosine law, when suppose you are in the earlier case, all the surfaces are in parallel planes, but in all the cases that may not be the same case. So that is why, if suppose when your surface is inclined at an angle, okay, so then how to calculate the illumination? So for that purpose, we are using Lambert's cosine law. So it states that the illumination on any surface is proportional to the cosine angle between the direction of incident flux and perpendicular to that of area. So E is equal to 1 by d square into cos theta. Here I am taking the diagram for Lambert's cosine law. So here it is it is the source, okay, and the surface AB is going to be in the perpendicular direction to the source. Okay. So from the source, you can see this is the surface AB. Okay. Now, and this omega is your solid angle, and theta is going to be the any angle. So this source at a height of h meters. Okay. The source at a height of h meters. Okay. Now we are assuming that this is the surface AB, this surface area AB is perpendicular. Normal to the source is nothing but perpendicular source with an angle theta. We are not mentioning what angle it is there. It is at an angle theta. Okay. And from this, this CD is the horizontal one. Okay. And since AB is in vertical position, CD is in horizontal. So AB is equal to CD into cos theta. So which we know from the basic mathematics, AB is equal to CD into cos theta. AB is equal to CD into cos theta. So which means CD is equal to AB by cos theta. So as D is the distance between the surface and the source, okay, which is in meters, and H is the height. This is the height, okay. Then I is the luminous intensity, and omega is your solid angle. Now illumination on surface AB. If I take illumination on surface AB is equal to flux by area of AB. So this AB is the surface, so area of AB, so flux by area of AB, so which is nothing but I by D square, and illumination on surface CD, illumination surface CD is equal to flux by area of CD. We don't know directly, we cannot directly measure the area of CD. CD is equal to, we know, AB by cos theta. So since flux illumination on CD is equal to area of AB by cos theta. CD is equal to AB by cos theta, we know. So that is why we are using I by D square into cos theta. So since I by D square is the illumination of, illumination of AB, and here in case of CD, CD is equal to AB by cos theta. So we are using that formula here, and I by D square into cos theta. So illumination at CD is equal to I by D square into cos theta. There is one more method of understanding this one. Okay. So in terms of height, if you want to represent in terms of height, so cos theta is equal to H by D. Here we are using, this is the cos theta value here. Cos theta is equal to H by D, or D is equal to H cos theta, replacing D with respect to height. Now substituting the value of D in the earlier equation, this is I by D square cos theta. No? So we are going to replace that here. So ECD is equal to I by H by cos square, cos theta whole square. So it becomes I by H square into cos cube theta. Okay. So this is the another way of representing Lambert's cosine law in terms of height. In terms of distance, it is I by D square cos theta. In terms of height, if they ask the question, then it is I by H square cos cube theta. That is why it is also known as cosine cube. Okay. So we have I by D square cos theta and I by H square cos cube theta. Okay. So I by there are two formulas for Lambert's cosine law. One is I by D square cos theta, and another one is I by H square into cos cube theta. Okay. So now we are trying to solve one problem. The candle power of a lamp that is placed normal to a working plane is 30 candle power. Find the distance D if the illumination is 15 lux. Okay. So given data, candle power is nothing but luminous intensity. I is equal to 30 candle power. Illumination E is equal to 15 lux. And solution, we know that E is equal to I by D square. So we have got the value of I, we have got the value of E. We have to calculate only D. So D is equal to I by E square root. So D is equal to root of I by E. So that is equal to 30 by 15. So root of 30 by 15 root 2. Okay. So it is nothing but 1.414 meters. Okay. Those students, if you want to note down this problem, you can note down. Hello. We will try to solve one more problem. So here a 250 volts lamp takes a current of 0.8 ampere and that produces a total flux of 3260 lumen. Okay. So then you have to calculate efficiency of the lamp. Efficiency of the lamp, do you remember the formula for efficiency of the lamp? Lumen per watt. Okay. Lumen per watt is going to be the efficiency. Efficiency has a unit here, whereas efficiency does not have unit anywhere. So here total lumen per watt. So lumens is given already. Wattage you can obtain from voltage and current. So you can easily calculate the efficiency. Voltage is given, current is given, flux is given. Find MSCP, efficiency of the lamp. So MSCP is equal to total lumen by 4 pi. This is MSCP, not MHSCP. So if it is MHSCP, then it is total lumen by 2 pi. Since it is only spherical candle power, total lumen divided by 4 pi. So total lumen is 3260 divided by 4 pi. So which you are going to get 259.42. And lamp efficiency, total flux output divided by electrical input. So 3260 divided by 250 into 0.8. Here cos phi they are not given, so we are assuming cos phi as unity power factor. Is 16.3 lumen per watt. Okay. Problems are very simple problems here in the earlier stages. If you remember those definitions, solving these problems are quite easy. Okay. So any questions are going to be asked here? So this time is for you to ask some questions. Last, if you no questions are there, then I will proceed with the class. Okay then. Kamesh, you want to ask any question? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. So next comes the. I have put a heading here. Problems on indoor lighting. Okay. But in here also it is to calculate illumination only. Okay. So the luminous intensity of a lamp is 400 candela. So that is nothing but I is given as 400 and placed in the middle of the room. We have given the dimensions of the room. So 10 into 5 into 4 length, breadth and height. Okay. So you have to calculate E illumination in each corner of the room and middle of 5-meter wall. Okay. Now you have to able to draw a room size. Okay. So this is, you can see, I think, can you see the image representation of a room? Yes or no? Okay. So I have taken a room. Okay. So this is going to be, I have taken a room here in this fashion. Okay. So, and I believe that the lamp is placed at a height of 5 meters. Okay. So I have taken four corners of the room, A, B, C, D, and 10 into 5 into 4. So that is going to be the measurement. Okay. So here this is the 10-meter length, and this is the 5 meter, and this is the 4-meter height. Okay. Now the lamp is placed at here. Okay. Now this lamp will radiate light to all the corners. Okay. You have to imagine to all the corners. I have taken one corner, okay, as the distance from source light to corner C. I have taken D here, and this is going to be the your angle, plane angle. Okay, so here the distance between the source and the point C is going to be D. Okay, I am keeping the same diagram for you so that you can easily uh, draw in between if you want. From the figure you can know that the distance between O and A and this one is same. Okay. So since this is at the half, exactly half we are assuming. Okay. So that is why the distance to find out this distance, okay, is nothing but root of 10 square plus 5 square by 2, so which is nothing but 5.59 meters. Okay, so once you know this half value, so this value you can easily find out. Once you know this value, okay, so which is nothing but we are assuming the triangle here. So so d is equal to, so root of side square plus side square, so 5.59 whole square plus 4 square, so which is nothing but 6.874. Once we know this distance only, we are able to find out this d value. So that is why first I am assuming when these are same and these two are also same. Okay. So and we know cos theta is equal to h by this d value. So that is by 4 by 6.874, which is equal to 0.5819. So once we are able to find out cos theta, so illumination at each corner is same. We are assuming like that. So EA is equal to EB is equal to EC is equal to ED. So 1 by d square into cos theta. So we got the value of I. So I luminous intensity value is known. The d value is obtained just now, and cos theta is also obtained. So I value is equal to 400 divided by d is 6.874 whole square into cos theta 0.589. So which is equal to 4.926 lakhs. Okay. So since we are assuming that the light is at the center, so we are assuming that the illumination lux is constant for all the corners of the room. Okay. Practically, sometimes practically it differs, but theoretically we are assuming that the at each corner the illumination is same. Now the second condition is at a height of 5 meters. Okay. So now here we are assuming this breadth. Now this is at condition here is, now we have taken this 5 meters, that means 10 meters, it is half now. So now instead of corner we are looking at this point, so at the center of the width, so the distance between L and this point is, let it be D1. We don't use the D, because we have already taken L and C to be D. Now we are using the distance d1, and this half distance, because it is 10 meters, so we are assuming that this point O is exactly center, so the half of the 10 meters is 5 meters. So this is already we know this height is 4 meters and this distance is 5 meters, so d1 is equal to root of 4 square plus 5 square. Okay, so d1 is equal to root of 5 square plus 4 square, so it is going to give you 6.403, and cos theta h is equal to means cos theta is equal to h by 4 by d1, so 4 by 6.403, so 0.627. So illumination in the middle of the 5-meter wall. Okay, so I by d1 square cos theta, I value is we know 400, d1 square is 6.403, and cos theta is equal to 0.624. So which is why 400 by 6.43 square into cos theta. So it is 6.095 lux. Okay. So now if you observe the earlier value, it is at the corners you are seeing 4.926 lux. Okay. At the corners of each room you are able to see 4.92 lux. Okay. But at the middle of the room you are seeing it is 6.095 lux. So you can see easily that the illumination will vary uh, with respect to the surface area. Okay. So with this we will complete today's lecture. The students are able to understand what are polar curves, what are laws of illumination, and some numerical problems. Okay. Hopefully you have to keep on running notes so that you will be able to
Sir,
write some important. Yeah.
can you please share first unit PDF in our group, sir?
First unit PDF will be sent to your emails.
Okay, sir.
Hmm. That is already I have given to the operator. He will send it to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Or if he doesn't send, then I only will send it to you. Don't worry. Anything to repeat here or discuss here? Okay. So then I will take attendance. Then you can leave the classroom. 10:20 only, no?